Good afternoon. I'm working on my patriotic jacket. Finishing up the first sleeve. I'll catch you up here. I wanted to show you how I do. There's a lot of filling in on when you're doing a jacket like this, covering the sweatshirt. So this is a sleeve. This is the set-in sleeve version. I did the braid border. I just did one section. I've got it. So then after I pieced the braid border, I added a strip, a strip, a strip, a strip, a strip of filler, the navy blue filler, dark blue filler. So now I am adding the strips. I'm going to do the same number of strips on the other side. So I wanted to show you how we do this. And I cut my strips a little oversized and trim them down. I want this to be a 1/2 inch strip, so I'm cutting it at 3/4 of an inch. I do that when I'm not certain that my stitching is a perfect 1/4 of an inch. Where's my red? I think I need to cut more red strips. This is my bin I'm working from. It's a mess, but it gets the job done. Oh, I think this was cut from my other filler. I don't want to cut from that. Let's see. I can stretch this out. I got more. Everybody have a good weekend, a nice long weekend. We didn't do much of anything. I am actually, they're not only going to work in this room, that the house I'm in, that my studio is in, is almost 100 years old. It's the house my husband grew up in, and I have gradually taken it over, room by room, and outgrown it. But we're going to, I used to have my office in another room, and I outgrew that. So I put my office in one of the bedrooms. I've outgrown that. So now we're opening up the original office to make it much larger. So I spent part of my day yesterday out there going through, oh my goodness, so much stuff. So much stuff. And of course, I found a lot of projects that I had not started sewing or anything, but just designs I'd started working on. So that means a lot more to work on. So I'm going to cut this just a little bit longer than what I need. So we'll be trimming it. And with my walking foot, I have to really pay attention here. Oh, and I know some of you have heard me talk about my tension problems. It was my thread, I guess. I switched threads, and it seems to be doing perfect. So I'm going to assume that it was the threads. And when you're doing these jackets, the package has a lot of foundation blocks in it. You're the artist, so you can make as many or as few blocks as you want. It just means if you make fewer blocks, you need a little more filler. And I know the pattern says that you need like a minimum of a yard of background or filler. And if you're not sure that you want to make a lot of blocks, I would have more filler fabric. It just says a minimum. And on this jacket, I don't have just one filler fabric. This is kind of, what do I want to say? It's make it up as you go. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, and then let's see, that's those. So I got one more white stripe to add here. And I am having a devil of a time figuring out, there's the right side. I'm going to say which one is the right side. Quarter inch right there. Hi, everybody. Hi, Sandy, Denise. I can't wait to get this one done. Of course, I love red, white, and blue. Today is just overcast, cloudy, windy, cold. Kind of miserable. Okay, and I set the seams and open that one up. And then I'm going to trim this following this line here. I'm going to keep the white strip there. Okay, so this is what I have so far. And this is for the sleeve. Here's my sleeve, my sweatshirt sleeve. And it's gonna go like that. So I need to put a section of red here. Normally what I would do, or what I will do, is fold this in half so I can make sure I'm on at the center. Pretty good. And I want that just, okay. So I need to add a section of red over here. I have it cut. What I do when I did this, I centered my braid, and I had these stripes on over here. So I measured from my white out to the farthest point and cut a piece of red a little bit bigger than that and added that on. And then I just followed the diagonal line of the braid and trimmed the red, added the blue. So now I've cut it this way to match the diagonal edge of the braid, the bottom of the braid. And I'll add my red, we'll continue this line, and then I'll fill it all in with the blue. So let me, there's my scissors. So right on that fold, I'll go just slightly below it. And then we'll put right sides together. Take it to the sewing machine and stitch that red on. The pedal wants to. Press this. And then we'll trim this. I'm just keeping the line going at that diagonal. Keep that. So now I'm going to take it back to the sleeve and get my pins. I don't know if you saw, I got the this part done for the back. I'm not sure where I'm going to place it yet. I won't have to show you. I fussy cut 6 stars and put them on the hexes because you can easily fussy cut. And I'm thinking when I'm going to wait until the jacket's fully covered. I'm going to put this on a strip of white fabric. And then I was thinking down the shoulders on both sides to have the stars. And maybe put some little gold star buttons in the middle of each one. Kind of military, whatever. Let's fold that over. Okay, so here's our sleeve. I want to make sure I get this right down the middle. So I'm going to fold it, match the seam on the both sides of the braid border so I find the center of the braid. Match that like that. Kind of just fold it so I can lay it along my center line. Got that like that, and now we'll open this up. And I have trimmed this side over here. So it's going to go like that. So now I need a piece of filler, the blue filler, that will fill this part in. And I'm trying to remember if we have that cut. I think I do. Maybe not. Yes, I do. So that will cover all of that. So we'll just add this, stitch it onto this right here. And what I would do if I didn't already have it cut, get my, I would measure the length that I need from down here to up here. And then at the widest point, how wide does it need to be? And then I usually add an extra anywhere from a 1/2 inch to a full inch. This one, I need it about 8.5 inches, including the seam allowance. So I'm not sure how wide I cut this one. Yeah, see, I cut it 10 inches wide. And from that strip, I also got this piece too. So, and there'll be a big chunk left over cut off of this. So we'll just put right sides together, edges even, and I will just sew. Oops, I guess I want to use the straighter edge. Yeah, there we go. I need to press this. Anyway, so there I have it in place. Let me match my edges. I'm not pinning it to the sweatshirt. Just want to get a couple places here before I lift it up. There's nothing to match. Now, if you wanted to, you know, like I made this star. If you wanted to do that in here, it wouldn't really, it'd be on the underneath side of your cuff. I'm not sure that you'd want to put anything there. But if you did, you would just have to sew around it. And I don't know how to explain that. You would just sew around, like add a border to that block, and you eventually make it so it's all covered. Okay. We'll do a block like that just so I can show you how you do your fillers and how you get your blocks in. So I decided to do a total jacket with you so you can actually see the thinking in it. I really want you guys not to necessarily follow exactly what I'm doing. I want to see what you guys come up with. This is your artwork. And if you start making a jacket and you get stuck, for goodness sakes, don't be afraid to send me a message. I know in the instructions, the first jacket that I made, the raglan sleeve one, is what we refer to as far as how to do the blocks, how to get everything covered and finished. I think I'm way past the bottom. And of course, you'll always have these videos to come back to. Yeah, Denise, uh, it's going to be stretch your imagination and experiment a little. Um, you'll be surprised what you guys can do without a definitive every single step pattern. Um, I don't want you to stress doing it. I'd love to have you just have some fun doing it. And it's sort of, as you get going on it, it makes more sense to you. A little bit of puzzle figuring out, maybe on your fills. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with this one, if I don't yank my cord off, put it back on here. I know that I have my left side already cut to size, so it should automatically center this. Bring my edges down on the left side there. Smooth it all out. Oh, I think that's going to be kind of cool looking. Well, that's the whole point. You want it to be. Okay, so now that it's all smoothed out, I am going to pin around the edges, hold it in place so that I can baste this together to the sweatshirt. And I could quilt it now if I wanted, as soon as I get it trimmed down and basted. And I'm just feeling along here to see where the edge of the sweatshirt is. Keep it smooth. And there's the bottom corner. And across the cuff, and it's all smooth, beautiful. So then I'm going to turn it over so I can actually see the sweatshirt. I've got some stitching here. Can take off. Okay, so now I'm just going to trim around here, keeping it flat. And I don't throw those hunks away. Okay. And that, I don't know why I left that hanging there like that, because I'm going to baste just inside this ridge of stitching, right along this edge here where I just cut that out, and all the way down just inside the line of, see, I have stitching here, and you can feel the ridge from the front side, so you want to stitch just inside of there. So this one is ready to be basted. And that's kind of pretty. Okay, so now we want to, I showed you this one. I have that made. See, now if you, I'm going to end up having to fold my cuffs up. I left them the full length, but I've got short arms. So otherwise, if we could have done, this is what I was talking about filler. I have the star made. I would have put a border of probably this, or I could have put a contrasting color, whatever. And then I would have added a piece here to make it go out to the edge, and a strip here of my background to make it go out to the edge. And then I would have added this diagonal piece, and it would have a seam right across here. I hope that makes sense to you. This would be a strip that would go the full width. You'd still put your diagonal fillers in here, but you would have a seam right here at the bottom of your braid border or your braid section. So you could have this there if you wanted. It's just a matter of figuring out where you want things and then look at it. It's a puzzle. You're just going to add the sides, then the strips to make it the width you need. Do your fillers here, and there you have it. So now I need to make some more blocks. We can do the other sleeve. I have that one ready to go. I haven't quite decided yet on what all we're going to do with the back. So let's make our other braid border. If I can find the foundation for it. Let's see, that's the spiked border. Oh, this is the migrating geese. Ohio Star. Log cabin, where I had it. That's the only problem. Working like this, I lose things. This is my other little Lemoyne star. Let's do I think the pieces for this, no, that's for my other, oh, okay. Let's do, because I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Maybe with a spiked border. So this is how I work. It's like, well, what do you think will work? I don't know if that'd be too much. Maybe I did spiked border across the bottom of the last one. I'm not sure I want to do that again. Anyway, we'll do, let's do this one. Unless I can find my braid border strip. I did get the first one that we did. I'll show it to you. I might want to go over there and look for my foundation I need. I did get the binding on this one. And there's my lining. Kind of wild. I think I'm going to do a little applique, some leaves or something to make my little flower stand out. But I'm very happy with the way this one came out. And I do explain in the pattern how, again, how I filled everything. I made the Ohio star block. Then I put a small border around it. And then I made my grid blocks. And then I cut the grid on the diagonal. This is where I made the diagonal cut. So the first thing I did was I sewed, I cut a piece, triangular piece, like this. This went all the way, this went out beyond this side seam. And then I sewed it on over here as well, along here. Then I took the rest of it and I matched my seams here, here at the corner of this block. And so then I ended up sewing this seam line all the way up to here. And then I did the same thing in this upper corner, sewed it on. So I took the center block and I added the two pieces to make it wide enough. Then I added these two to complete it. And of course it was bigger than the back of my jacket. So eventually it got cut down. But I did my spiked border and I added this strip to it. So then when this part was made, I put right sides together along this strip and stitched it, then opened it up. And then of course I made the two fronts. With this one, I did the braid border. I added a strip of filler on each side, then a contrasting strip. And then I put it down where I wanted it to go in the front. And of course I have the spike border down here with the same strip that I put across the back, because I wanted that to match at the side seams, so it just continued. So I figured out, I made the braid border, did the filler strip, the contrasting strip, laid it out where I wanted it, measured how wide of a filler strip I needed to go to the side and out partially in the armpit and to the center front. So I cut filler strips there. So then I had the braid strip, contrasting strip, filler strip. Same thing on the other side. Laid it out, sewed it on top, sewed it to this, right sides together, and opened it up. Laid it out, pinned it on here, right where I wanted it to go. I did the same thing on the other side. I did my spiked border in the top strip, so they match, like that. Then I did a contrasting strip just because. Then I did a filler for up to the armpit. You can see I go past the armpit. I appliqued my hexies and my stem, and then I sewed, put right sides together, put this section where this contrasting stripe is, pinned it to the spiked border on the bottom, stitched it, opened this up, and I had it up to this purple strip up here. And I just pinned it on. Didn't sew anything to the sweatshirt yet. And then I did my sleeves. I did the migrating geese. I did just like I did to the braid border. I did my background or my filler fabric, a strip, a contrasting strip, then measured the rest of the sleeve out to the armpit and did a filler piece on both sides. And laid it centered the migrating geese section down the top, the ridge of the sleeve, laid it down at the cuff, saw how, well, we just left that like that, both sleeves. Just, they were done up to this strip. The strip was not on there yet. Then I did the log cabin blocks. What did I make? 1, 2, 3, 4. And I made the one Lemoyne star. You get 2 in the kit. You get 8 of the log cabin blocks. So you really get a big variety of what you can use. So I made this one. I put a little border of contrasting fabric around it. And I knew I wanted it to sit diagonally. So then I added, and I wanted it about in this area. So filler, you can see I put a piece of filler here and up here and down here. There's my seam. I put this piece and this piece on, then did this long filler and the little corner there. And I actually did lay it on the jacket where I wanted. I did my log cabin blocks, and I've added extra strips just for the heck of it. Contrasting strips. This is the block right here. This is a contrast. Just to fill in enough, I added filler up here, filler here, and filler down here. A little piece of filler here. I laid this all, I joined them all and laid them where I wanted them to go. And then I measured how much space there was between this yoke part and this bottom part that was pinned on here. And saw I needed to fill in about an inch, inch and a half. So I added this strip to this bottom section. I pinned the yoke on the sweatshirt where it's going to go. It had a little extra around the collar. So then after, when I decided exactly how this was going to be set, I sewed this strip on the bottom section, unpinned this from the sweatshirt, sewed this strip on it, opened it up. Then I laid it up here, right sides together, sewed this seam, opened it back up, pressed it. The jacket back was done. On the fronts, I had both front sections all done. They were pinned in place. So then I had to see how much I had to add between the front sections and the yoke. The yoke comes around much further down on the front here than it did on the left side because my braid border was so long. So there again, I measured how much did I need between this bottom part, this top part. I unpinned this part from the jacket, added this strip to the bottom part, then put right sides together, this strip with the yoke part, stitched it, opened this up. Did the same thing up here. Then with my sleeves, I had them in place. I looked to see how much I had to add from the top of the sleeve to get up here to the yoke. Measured it, cut a contrasting strip, unpinned the sleeve from the sweatshirt, added the strip to the sleeve part, put right sides together, sewed this seam right here, opened this up and pressed it, did the same on the other sleeve. My jacket was covered. So I don't know if that helps a whole lot, but it gives you an idea of how you can do it, and it's all finished. No hand stitching, which was nice. So I don't see my braid foundation over here. Oops, yes I do. Okay, so we'll do that for the other sleeve. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do the other sleeve exactly the same or not. but the braid will be the same. And I have all my pieces cut. So, and they're all stacked right here. You're working on, oh, Hearts in the Cabin. Oh, the Hearts in the Cabin. I have new fabric kits, and we're going to make it a little bit bigger quilt. So stay tuned for that. That will be one for our, that we'll have done for our quilt shows. So, okay, this one, starting the braid border, is just a little bit different than most. Gonna lay it wrong side of the fabric facing up, put the braid border on top. You want about 1/4 of an inch to go past the line. This is space 2. And about 1/4 of an inch to go past the line here. And where's my pins? Put a pin in it. Yeah. And then we're going to turn it over. And we're going to take, I don't want the same pattern. Okay, we're going to take fabric piece number 2, put right sides together just like that. And put a pin in it. Turn it over. And I'm going to stitch that whole line. Even though there's only one layer of fabric there. It just helps to keep it hold it in place. This is what I do when I'm... Okay, step number 2. Press it. Okay, then I'm going to get ready to add piece number 3. Right there. And I'm trying, I think I cut enough of each color that I can alternate red, white, blue, red, white, blue. And if we have anybody new this morning, these we're sewing on our pre-printed leave-in foundations. And we're making a sweatshirt jacket. We're gonna start with a sweatshirt. And we're gonna make our foundation blocks and cover the entire sweatshirt. It's just, this is done the same manner as traditional paper piecing. For those of you who might not know, I was an avid paper piecer. I loved the finished project, but I hated everything about getting there. I hated working with the paper. I hated that I never found a pattern that told me what size to cut my pieces. I hated that you had to use those little tiny stitches because if you made a mistake, not if, but when, um, I ended up I would throw the whole thing away because by the time you take out the stitches, you've ruined your foundation. So I would just play like Eleanor Burns and throw the thing over my shoulder and start over. Well, that's a lot of wasted time, wasted fabric. Um, and then having to take the paper out was terrible because I would be taking the paper out thinking, oh my gosh, it takes as much time to take the paper out as it does to make the quilt. I could be making a whole nother quilt. And so we have owned a textile printing company since 1990. Oh, I didn't want to put two of the same print. We would do small run digital printing on fabrics. And one night I told Bob I'm going to have a little me time. So I poured myself a glass of red wine and I got in a bubble bath with a quilt magazine. And of course, the quilt magazine had a paper piece quilt on the cover. And by this time, I'd worn out my welcome with Bob taking paper out. He was very, very good at it. He was very meticulous, very careful not to pull stitches out or stretch the fabric. But after doing a couple big quilts, he said, I love what you do, but don't ask me to do that again. Bye. Thanks for stopping by. But so I just thought, oh, I don't want to do another one and have to pull the paper out. So I took a big gulp of wine and I slid down under the bubbles and I had this, what do you call it, an epiphany? You own a fabric printing company. There's got to be something better than what's out there. And at the time there were, I think that there was one printed on muslin, and my girlfriend has a quilting business and said, don't ever bring me one of those because it's too heavy. And the other one was a fusible, and I don't like fusibles in my quilts. So, because the glue just never goes away. So it tends to make them stiff, and over the years they'll get almost like brittle. So I spent several years perfecting this, finding the right fabric to use, dealing with how to take care of the way that a non-woven fabric will shrink, because it shrinks a great deal and more in one direction than the other. So we had to compensate for all of that, and worked on getting the patent, finding a fabric company who would make exactly what I wanted the fabric to be like. I wanted it heavily needled, but extremely lightweight. I didn't want it to add weight or bulk to your quilts, but I wanted it to be strong enough that you wouldn't be ripping it, and that it would keep everything straight. So especially if you're doing any kind of scrap sewing, scrap quilting, you, or if you're fussy cutting, you're gonna have bias edges. Like when I trim the sprayed border, these are all cut on the straight grain, but these edges are gonna be a perfect diagonal, so it's all gonna be biased. And if I didn't have the foundation behind it, it would get wonky, even if you're extremely careful. It's just the nature of fabric. And when you're handling fabric, you're pressing it, you're putting stress on the threads. It's just, if you hang it up, it's gonna stretch a little. So this takes all that away. It's been a fun progression here. And of course, when I first developed this, it wasn't going to be for commercial use. It was just going to be for me. But a few people saw it and pushed me to come out of retirement, semi-retirement. So at the time we had a staff working for us with our fabric printing. Are kids getting out of school yet? Is it too early? Is it? I don't. In California, we usually go until the first or second week of June. I saw a friend, he's a writer, white, blue, red, talking about back when we were kids in school, you didn't get out till like the middle of June, somewhere around Flag Day, it was the middle. And we didn't go back to school till after Labor Day. And now it's like my grandkids, I'm not sure when, I think this is Ben's last week. And I think Everett's got another week after that. But then they both go back to school in August. And it's like, August, that's still summer. That's still a lot. But they get a lot of time off during the year now that we didn't. Thank you. I think on Wednesday I'm going to make all the rest of the blocks today and tomorrow that I want to use on this sweatshirt. I will have them all made, and that way we can put the sweatshirt together. I will leave a couple of things to assemble so we can work a little bit more with filler stuff, and then I want to put the sweatshirt together for you, show you how we attach the lining and get it finished. So we'll plan on that on Wednesday. Thursday, I'm sorry. And then it will be on to the modern sampler. And if you're new here, you will discover that I have a pet peeve about threads. I love thread, but I don't like threads hanging on my blocks. It's just me. I don't. Even when I teach classes, I don't yell at anybody about cut those threads. Sewing is one of those things that we love to do, but we all have our own little ways of doing things, and that's the way it should be. When I teach a class, I show you the way that I have found works best for me, but boy, do I love it when my students will show me a different way. And I'm always open to learning. I'm always, not everybody sees everything the same way, or our brains don't work the same way. And when I write instructions, I try very hard, really hard, to make it clear. And it's because I'm writing it from my view. So it may not be quite so easy for somebody else to understand. And I need to hear those things so I can take that into account for the next one, or to go back and redo. I've rewritten patterns because I realized I wasn't as clear in my instructions as I probably could have been, or I looked at it from the way I do things, and it doesn't always mean that my way is simpler. So I love the feedback, and I don't take it as personal criticism. It's I wouldn't know if you didn't tell me. And I am going to take this walking foot off today, and it's pretty easy to change out, so. These fabrics, did it again, same print, two different colors next to each other. These are left over from a fabric kit we have for the Dutch Beauty. I made a Dutch Beauty in these red, white, and blue fabrics. Be patriotic. I want to pull in some of this red. So I just pulled, like I say, I have a whole drawer of patriotic fabrics I've collected over the years. I actually had a really neat panel one that they're small. I don't know, they're 4 or 5 inch little panels. And I looked at it and I thought it would be great to use on a jacket, the small panels. But I have an idea for a quilt. This goes pretty fast. Red, white, blue. I think I'm going to have to cut a couple more whites and a couple more blues. And again, when you're putting a light color over the darker colors, you match your edges, and then I push mine forward a couple of threads. Just because you don't want, when you open it up, you don't want to have a shadow of the dark color coming through. I don't know if you can see that, but you can just see the white fabric underneath. You want it to look like that, so that red won't show through when we open it up. Blue. Now on the braid border, I'll show you as soon as I get this piece cut or sewn. If you wanted to make a long braid border, like in Hearts in the Cabin, we use braid border all the way around. When you join them, this isn't one that you can do each section separately and then sew them together. I suppose you could, but it would be a real pain. So what you do is when you get down to the bottom, down here, you're just going to take the next, I don't know how I can show you this. I should have had a couple of them here. You're going to take the next strip, and you're going to match, you'll match the top V with this, the solid, match your solid lines and your straight lines down the side. You can pin it, and as soon as you sew the first piece together, it will hold. It'll stay in the right place. Or you could use a little glue, and then of course you want to cut the extra foundation away. But you just got to continue. And then when it gets to be very long, what I do, just to not be a nuisance, is I'll roll it up like this and clip it so that I don't have this big long piece flopping around while I'm sewing down here. But yeah, if you wanted to make them all separate pieces, you'd have to come back and I guess you could do a set-in seam, but it would really be a pain in the you-know-what. So it's just easier to just keep it going for as long as you need it to be. And then, like for the borders in the hearts in the cabin, I don't remember how many strips it takes, 3 or 4 to make a length, but you don't need the full 4, so you cut it off, and then the part you've got, just continue, add to it, add another piece of foundation to it, matching up your lines, and just keep going so you don't waste any of it. But yeah, I really couldn't figure out any other way to do this. I'm coming out with a little bit bigger braid, and it will be designed so if you want like the French braid, you can do it either way. And as I got an awesome idea for a design for a big quilt with the braids. And of course, there's always the traditional one of just all braids, all the French braid. But I got an idea for a more modern quilt using the braid. So while I'm sewing this, I just got an idea what I want to do on one of the fronts of the jacket. So I think I will make 2 Ohio stars and turn them on point. So we'll make the Ohio star blocks next. When I started this business, my hopes were I guess I didn't understand when I started how many people like to have the total pattern written for them. I was hoping I could find people who would like to take like a package of one of the stars, say, and make up their own design with them. Use our blocks to make it easier. And I guess I was being lazy, huh? I don't know. But I do have customers who do that, and that just really, I love to see what everybody else comes up with. I have one customer in Arizona who I'm always to see what she's done. She just buys packages of this, packages of that. And then she says her husband's an engineer, so he figures out, because they're all different sizes. And so he helps her lay them out. And oh my gosh, they're beautiful. They're just beautiful. And of course, they're entirely one of a kind. And I got it. Oh, red's next. But I'm going to have to cut one more blue and one more red. I mean white. I do know this one is going on the other sleeve. I'm just not sure if I'm going to do it like I did the other sleeve. Sometimes I don't like to make things symmetrical like that. Okay, let's see. Oh, I happen to have a white one here. We're good. Just need a blue one. Let's see if I can get the crease out of that one. Yeah, I think my tension problem has been solved. Still get that little loop at the start of the stitching. I think it's better, much better actually. You can see the stitches. And the favorite one, the last one. And I just happen to have Yay. No, don't back stitch. As long as there's going to be another line of stitching that goes over it. So like on the outside edges, we run our stitching. This is a seam line where we're going to sew this into our quilt or whatever. So I do run my line of stitching all the way out to the broken line. But here, I don't back stitch because if you go too far, when you go to fold this back to use the add a quarter, if you've stitched too far and you fold this back and you kind of get in a hurry, I don't know that I've ever had one rip. We were just talking about how strong this stuff is. I really don't know that I've ever had one rip, but it won't lay right, if your stitching goes too far. And you're going to have another line of stitching go over it to hold it in place. I've never ever had a seam come loose. So I recommend you don't back stitch. Okay, where's my ruler so I can trim this? See, we have a few projects still going on around here. Okay, so now we're going to trim 1/4 inch from the solid line down both sides. And I want to keep the angle on the bottom, because that was what determined the angle of the filler fabric on the other sleeve. Like I say, I'm not sure if I'm going to do the same thing on the second sleeve or not, but we'll. And I am going to cut this straight across, line up. I line up the mark on my ruler with the seam down the side. Make sure I get it straight. And cut it off right there at the V. So there we have the braid border for our second sleeve. And for those of you that weren't with us in the beginning, this is made. Sometimes you might want to make some notes on your instructions as to which color you're going to put where. On this one, I want the star, one of the stars I want to be blue. So this is part A. The center is part A. So I gotta use my, look at my other block. This is the star point here, 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 here. And this is gonna be the same as the star point, I believe. You know what? I have mine over here. Oh, I guess I forgot to plug myself back in just to make sure. Oh yeah. So I made the center blue. I don't know if I'm going to do white or red, and then the star points, 8 star points. So I'm going to just put in here a B. So I know when I look at my cutting chart what color I want that to be. And then the center, whoops, blue. So this is part A. Piece number 1 is going to be blue. And then 2, 3, 4, and 5 is whatever my background is. We'll just do back. And then part B, this is B, this is C. Number 1 is the background. And 2 and 3 are my blue. And then D and E are number 1 is background. 2 and 4 are blue. And number 3, the big triangle, that's the background. And you should probably do that in pencil so you can erase it so the next time you can do it differently. Let's see, what blue do I want to use here? I'm thinking something, oh, I like this one. This one. So I need a 3.5 by 3.5 to start with for my center. This one's been cut into kind of a, we'll just cut off all this. Press it. So 3.5 by 3.5, and I need 4.5 by 4.5. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a 4.5 inch strip. Probably cut 2 of them off here so that I cut off this, all this that's been cut out before. Actually, we'll do 1 to start with. Cut my selvage off. Straighten that out. Okay, now we're going to do a 4.5 inch strip. So 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Right like that. So I'm going to need to start with, boy, neither end is very straight. Okay, so I need a 4.5. I need 2 4.5 inch squares to start with. There's one, and we need to cut it diagonally once. And here's a second one, 4.5. Okay. And then this needs to be 3.5. Oh, I needed 4.5, sorry. Let's get the 4.5 out of here. Wait, I need 4. 1, 2, 3. Why only 3? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, piece 2 and, oh, okay, 4.5. I beg your pardon, I cut those twice. I need to cut those twice. 1, 2. We need to cut these in half twice. I thought they were awfully large for those star points. So I'm just gonna go like this. And there's a star point. See, this is what's nice about these, is they don't have to be so accurate. There we go. Okay, there's my 8 star points. Now this one is the middle. I can cut this at 3.5 by 3.5. That's my center. Now I have to decide, am I going to go with pure white or am I going to go with one of our little prints? Ay, 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 ay. How about this one? So for the background, I need a 4.5, a 4x4, and 4 2 2 3/4. Okay, so let's do our 2 3/4 here. Get that selvage off. 2 3/4. And I need 4 of these. So there's 1 2 3/4, 2 3/4. Perfect. And then I need a 4.5 and 2 4x4s. So let's do the 4x4. What did I say? I need 1 4.5 and 2 4x4s. Got it. 1 2 3 4. By 4. And those we're going to cut once diagonally. And I do believe that goes with that. And then I'm going to open this up and get my 4.5 by 4.5. That goes with these. This one, 4.5. Well, those I keep in my strip basket. And then this one gets cut twice diagonally. This is for part A. Okay, ready to make a block. Get the foundation here. Now on this one, I do cut it into 3 parts. I cut part D and E off. We'll do those. Okay, so part A is the center part. Take our fabric piece, put the wrong side facing down, and then we're going to put the foundation on top. And where's number 2 is right there. Want to start with 1/4 of an inch going past the line. Yes, if you if you can print this, we do sell it blank, pre-shrunk, and you need a printer, inkjet printer that can do a straight through feed, not where it, pulls it up and turns. You need it to feed straight through. And the package comes with instructions on how to iron it to freezer paper. And believe it or not, it does make a difference if you iron with the foundation fabric on top against the waxy part of the freezer paper, or if you put the foundation down first and then put the freezer paper with the waxy side down and iron it. And off the top of my head, I cannot remember which way is the best, but it does tell you in the instructions how to adhere it to freezer paper to run it through your printer. And then if you run it through your printer, you're not going to get nearly as good of a print as these. But be sure before you start sewing any fabric to it, you want to iron it so that you can set that ink so it's not going to bleed into your fabric. And if you want to trace something, if you're just doing 1 or 2 blocks the same, and you just want to trace it, I just put it in embroidery hoop and pull it nice and tight, and then put it over whatever I want to trace and use a soft leaded pencil to trace the pattern onto the foundation. And then it won't bleed, the pencil lead won't bleed. And when if you wash a quilt, it comes out. So you don't have to worry about it ruining your fabric. So I hope that answers that question. But yeah, if you look on our website, just in the search bar, put blank foundation fabric, and it should come up. And it's about I think it's like 16 inches by 3 3/4 yards, something like that. And it is pre-shrunk. So that's really important, because if you're using any kind of an interfacing or anything, when you buy it, it is not pre-shrunk, and it's going to shrink on you more in one direction than the other. So to keep your blocks right, it's got to be pre-shrunk. Okay, so we've got fabric piece number 1 in place. Fabric piece number 2 is going to go right sides together, just like this. And again, I'm putting a light over dark. I'm going to push it up just an extra couple of threads and put a pin in it. How do my pins get bent? And turn it over, and we're going to sew on that line. And now I'm going to show you a little shortcut here. Oh, look at that. A little shortcut right after I unstitch a little bit. I have this thing, if I have my seam, oh, it's only a couple stitches. I have my seam ripper right here. I say I never have to use it. If you have to take your stitches out, I really recommend taking it out on the fabric side, not the foundation side. You don't want to run the risk of ripping a hole in your foundation. And I usually unstitch because I don't like all those little. There again, if you know me well, you know I don't like a bunch of little threads hanging around. So if I unstitch it, I don't have all those threads. Seems like I'm forever picking threads out if I do it that way. And then, there we go. And you can't even tell we stitched on this. It's self-healing. So now, make sure that lays flat. That's a big 1/4 inch I put there. Take my pins out. Yeah, quite a bit more than a 1/4 of an inch in that seam allowance, but it goes out to the edge. Now, a shortcut. Can't do this on every block, but this one we can. I'm just going to trim the other 3 edges down to a 1/4 of an inch so I don't have to come back and do it after each piece. There are some blocks that you can do this. Save yourself a little time. Okay, this one has them opposite. It doesn't really matter what order you go in. And we're going to turn it over and make sure both ends are showing there. And again, I'm going on dark colored fabric, so over dark colored fabric, so I have the light extended just a little bit more. And then you do have to press it. before you can add the other pieces. But now, if you wanted to, you could pin this one. And then you could pin this side. Just hold them in the middle. And then that way what I do is I stitched in, and I'm going to go all the way out to the broken line. And then I'm just going to flip it around and sew the other one. It's a little crooked there. So now I have my center sewn. I know I got more threads to cut. I think I do. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now we'll press both of these. And now I'm going to trim the top and bottom using the outer quarter ruler, which is why I didn't extend my line out, because I wouldn't have been able to fold the foundation back. If I would have, see on this one, I extended my stitching all the way out. Up here on this end, I didn't, because I wanted to fold it back on the line to do my outer quarter. Now, if we didn't leave these three sections together, I would have run my line all the way out. But when I make the other two sections, I'll just fold them together with the center section, and it'll be all lined up. So it might make more sense then. So then we're going to start this one. Number one is if I could get it, it's going to go like this. So we'll just flip this over and line it up. You get 2 for 1 on this one. Flying geese. 1/4 inch past both lines into space 2 and space 3. I'm going to put a couple pins. Turn it over. And this is number 2. And I can see my blue underneath is extended, so I know it's not folded. Put my needle down. And this got a little twisted, just a little. There we go. Keep it flat. Stitch down that line. Open this up. it. And then put this one on this side. Okay, we'll press this one open. I like to set those stitches. It gives it a little less ridge to fold. When you fold your fabric over, it has a little, doesn't have a ridge. As you set those stitches, and that puts them down into the fibers of your fabrics. Now we're going to trim this, the top of this, with the add a quarter ruler. And we're just going to fold this over. Now, if you fold it over, you want to fold it on the center line, and you can usually see the broken line. I don't know if you can see that. I'm folding it on one center line and matching up the broken lines. It should come out perfect, but you know what? I still like to pin it. I want those points to match. So I'm going to put a pin in right here at the very point and open it up and make sure, well, right in the point, make sure it came out perfect. And now I'm going to insert it in the point right there. And then perfect. Keep this pin perpendicular. Use the other pin so you don't rock it. And then those all match. We should be good to go. I'll put a pin in here. Just now I'm going to sew on that solid line all the way across. Take my pin out. Take that pin out and make sure I keep it on the fold like that. And now, that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to split the fold of the foundation. Now I'm going to press that seam open. Because you have a lot of bulk right there. So you don't want it going all one direction because you just have a really massive bulk of fabric there. Looks pretty darn good, I'd say. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. I've already trimmed that, so we'll just do this same way. I'm going to not bore you with this. You've seen how it's done. I'm going to go ahead and make most of the rest of the blocks so that on Thursday, we can put this all together so you can see how to do your fill-ins and all that, and how to actually put the sweatshirt back together. So we'll get this done. And remember, on Saturday, we will start on our modern sampler. There's 8 blocks. We'll start with the simplest first and work our way up to the most complicated, which isn't too complicated. And we'll be doing the square in a square in a square in a square in a square for the inner border block. Anyway, we're going to work on that for a few days. So if you have that pattern and want to make it along with me, make sure you order it. We're going to be starting it on Saturday. So until then, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I will be back here Thursday, and we're going to get this jacket finished up. So take care. Be good. If don't get into trouble. And I hope you get to stitch something fun. We'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.